Howdy y'all, this is the second video of the Empire State Building rig build series. The last video ended with me popping a hole in the side of the can to drop a downstem into. So what I'm doing here is I'm cleaning up the end of a 12mm clear handle. I'm holding up to the side of the can to get a visual reference of how long I want the downstem to be. So now I'm going to handle up to the end of that clear blank 12mm handle. I'm going to heat back and forth, rock back and forth, lift, bend, and then blow. That's how I'm going to get that nice little curved shape. Insert, make sure that it's the right length. Now that I've double checked the length of the downstem will be correct for the size of the can, I'm going to go in and on either side of this bend, I'm going to add a hole. What I'm going to do is do a small blowout and then come in with a hot punchy and then break that blowout off. Because we're working with small holes on a small diameter size tubing, this just ensures that those holes are nice, clean, and crisp, and that there's no excess glass that's going to come back and close down on itself. I've handled up to the end of that downstem, and now I'm going back up into what will eventually be where we connect to the exterior of the can. Make myself an extra little handle here. And now I'm going to remove excess glass from where we have just detached our downstem from the blank 12mm handle. I'm now going to open the tube where we had just removed glass by doing a push and pull method of heating, pushing, pulling, and then eventually the hole popping open, just like that. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to flare open the hole that we've just created. I want the flare to match the size and the shape of the hole that I've popped on the side of my can. I want them to line up perfectly so that when I set it in the can, it sits nice and snug, and then I can go around the edge and do all of the welding. So I double checked, and now I'm going in and I'm removing a little bit of excess. It was slightly too large. So to modify that, I'm just doing a simple raking of the lip and making that lip smaller so that it fits within the hole that we've created in the can. I've changed my anchor point from the back side of that downstem now to the front flare of the downstem. What I'm doing here is I'm pulling a filler stringer. If any gaps arise while sealing the downstem or the 90-degree joint onto the can, I'm going to do a quick fill and keep moving. Now my downstem was not supposed to come off this early, but it was okay. It fit really snug. It didn't move. So I went ahead and went in and I made 2 weld spots on the top and the bottom, and then I will just go from 12 o'clock to 1, 2, 3, and all the way around in a clockwise motion. And I am turning the piece up and down, and that's just to let gravity just kind of pull that wall weight back and forth until it's nice and symmetrical. Because the can and the downstem are both clear, they welded quickly and seamlessly. Here I'm flaring open a 12mm tube with a 10mm brass reamer. Even though the tube itself is 12mm on the exterior, when you add the heavy wall weight to the interior, it's less than 10mm, which is why you can use it to flare out to a 10mm interior. Now I'm going to open and flare up a handle, and I'm going to cold seal this handle onto this prepped tubing, because what I want to do is be able to just flick it and knock it off, because eventually when I go in and I put it on this rig, I want to be able to detach it easily without any stress. I gave myself an allowance of tubing. I heated it up, I melted it back, I blew it out into a ball, and now I'm going to open up a hole on the back side of it that I will be attaching to the exterior wall of the rig where we have dropped our downstem. Here I'm just going in like the flare of the downstem before and just cleaning up the edges and making sure it's all nice and symmetrical before I put it onto the exterior of the rig, because I want the connection point to be even all the way around. So here I'm getting both components hot. I'm doing a push and a light pull up to get it attached. And what happened was I had a portion of that clear move on me, so I'm going in with that stringer and I'm filling a hole where the glass got a little too hot and receded on itself. No big deal. That's why you have the filler stringer. Obviously, you don't want to have to use that if it's not necessary, but sometimes it's good just to have a backup, just to have a way to get yourself through a difficult moment that you didn't anticipate. So because I've had so many issues doing it in the past and learning to do it better for the future, that's just a trick that I have in my arsenal to keep moving forward and keep the project on track. So essentially, I'm just going around the entire seal and I'm just making sure everything is welded in really nice. They call it like wetting a seal, which essentially just means that it runs like water. You want there to be no ripples, no dimples, no hard creases. That'll avoid surface tension and cracks in the future. And here's our finished can. So I've already handled up and made prep for this coil, but what I realized when I was making it was that I needed to extend it by at least 2 coils for it to be the right height for what I had originally measured out once all the components were made. So what I did was I attached a clear 12 millimeter heavy wall tube, and what I'm doing is going around in a circle around the tube, hitting it from every side, and then just slightly bending it while a very, very, very light pull. So I'm heating it up, rotating it around, pulling it to the direction that I want, and giving a slight tug so that the wall weight doesn't crunch in on itself. And I'm just gonna do that all the way around. And here I'm actually going in and I'm handling up because I have a weld line where I connected it. And so I just want to clean that up and make sure that it's not some visual distraction. What I want to do is I want to even out that wall weight the best that I can. And so I'm going in and I'm just heating, letting it sink, blowing it out, moving it back and forth, and allowing it to just flow back in on itself. And there was like a little dimple ripple in there, but I wasn't too concerned. It was going to work. It wasn't going to affect the longevity or the structural integrity of the piece. So now I'm going to take that handle off, or bridge, excuse me, the bridge off, and then I'm going to continue to wrap that coil around and finish it up. And remember, it's really important to get it hot from every single angle, even if there's a previous coil underneath it. Rock it back and forth, up and down, side to side, however you need to get that flame to the interior of that coil to make sure that it pulls around and doesn't visually distort itself. And so we've added 2 coils, made it just a little bit taller, and now on to the next step. What I've done here is I've just taken a piece of tubing. I've just made a very small blank with one side being 90-degree angle and the other having a very nice sloped shoulder. I've popped a hole and now I'm reaming it open with my reverse tweezers because this is going to be the mouthpiece to our rig. And so now I need to clean up, open, and attach a small piece of tubing to the bottom of this mouthpiece portion. That's going to be the extension of the neck that comes off of the coil and goes into the mouthpiece. It needs to be a little bit longer than you think because what we're going to do is take it from a flat, straight tube. We're going to connect it to the end of that coil, and then we're going to heat it and bring it up and around towards the center of that coil to center it with the rest of the body of the piece. So essentially we're taking a straight piece, wrapping it around and in on itself, making a bit of a curlicue so that it centers the actual coil itself. And so I've just made a bridge here and I'm going in with my hand torch and I'm cleaning up that weld, making sure it's nice and pretty, that there's no visual imperfections, and that it's nice, tight, and clean. And I do a lot of that by just letting gravity do its thing, rocking back and forth, turning it up and down, side to side, and allowing that wall weight to fall down and around. For the can, I switched the handle from the top to the bottom. It is a closed solid handle on the end. I'm heating up, pressing together, heating slightly, and then taking out of the flame and adjusting where that weld is, heating it up, maneuvering it a little bit more, And I'm just doing this until I find the center, or what feels as though is the best center that I can get. Then after finding what I believe is going to be the best center that I possibly can do without having a lathe, then I'm going to go and I'm going to make a bridge. I'm going to take an extra piece of glass. I'm going to weld it to that handle, bring it down and around the other arm that has already been placed, weld them together, and then do my finishing welds from the can to the coil. Once again, just letting gravity do its thing, heating up the weld, letting the wall weight fall back and forth, finding its symmetry, finding its evenness. And this is the finished interior component. I will eventually go back in and slightly adjust the mouthpiece to sit perfectly straight. But other than that, it turned out pretty good. And on to the next part.